There are some voices that shape your childhood so deeply that it stays with you after a long time and the screen goes dark. For me, one of those are Entle, who was one of those voices. I remember sitting in front of my TV, watching her on Yo TV with her bubbly personality. Now, years later, she's still a guiding light, not through entertainment, but through purpose, faith, and fearless reinvention. From media pioneer to founding Relentless Ministries, entrepreneurship, and building a lifestyle empire rooted in identity and truth, Entle has turned her calling into a movement. She doesn't just step out of the spot. She didn't just step out of the spotlight. She created a new one that shines not just on her, but on every woman learning to lead with faith, fire, and no fear. It's a deeply personal episode for In Her Words, Working Conversations by Women. I'm your host, Thando Mazibuko, and I'm sitting down with the light from my childhood, from all our childhoods, and to talk about her journey from visibility to divine visibility. Entle, welcome to In Her Words, and how are you today?
I'm fantastic. I am relentless. That's what I am. Yes. I am relentless. Yes.
Can you speak about what was your experience like for you as a young girl in the spotlight? I can imagine that was a lot.
That one's easy for me because there was no social media. Oh. It was nice. It was thoroughly enjoyed. There was no bullying. Mm-hmm. There was no beef. Well, no known beef. Yes, there was the other channel. Well, children's program on the paid channel, but we didn't have a beef. When we met up, like at places like the Rand Easter show, it was all funny, you know. There was genuine love. We were doing very different things on different channels, but the point is, it was actually a wholesome experience. But in hindsight, we've all spoken about this, that there was a little bit of an exploitation, you know, like a little bit of exploitation, because we were extremely overworked for the age group that we were in, you know. We were spanning between the ages of like 9 and 12, 9 and 13, 9 and 15, and we worked every day. Yeah. We literally worked every single day, as well as we had a benchmark of marks that we couldn't go below. So you couldn't get below a C and still shoot. You couldn't be part of the show and get bad marks. In hindsight, it's like, guys, we were kids.
Yeah.
We were working children. It was low-key, like, you know, let me not be spicy, but it was a lot. But the experience itself, from a child's perspective, was amazing because we met amazing people. We went to amazing places and really got to experience amazing things. And back then, there was no money involved. There was no one of us that had a parent powerful enough to have bribed someone or did anything. It was just talented kids that were found through actual authentic auditioning, and we made magic, you know, and started an actual movement.
You did. You were the envy of everyone. Everyone wanted to be a Yo TV presenter, and you guys were living our dream. And it's interesting that we didn't know how much it took from you, because every day we'd come back from school rushing to watch you guys, and it took a lot from your childhood. And that's very interesting to hear, that was a hectic time as a child. But you left TV, you began to start, obviously, your life, and now you are a grown woman, and you went into having a journey into having a relationship with Christ. What does that look like, and how did you get into, you know, your calling as a Christian woman?
Let me start at
now.
I'm going to start at the end. Mm-hmm. And what that means is I don't believe in callings.
Okay.
I'm going to be spicy about it. I'm actually planning a whole teaching on it. Mm-hmm. with something that I'm hosting next month, but I'll share a bit more about that. Thando, exactly. You've just made my point. You've just made my point, right? I called you, and what did you do? You answered, right? So I always, just to touch on why I feel like it's such a touchy thing, and I feel like we might, and I'm saying might, misunderstand it, is when I call you, it doesn't mean you need to go somewhere. When I call you, I'm calling you for my attention. So I believe that that is my call. My call is to be in a relationship with the Lord. That's my calling. When he called me, it wasn't for me to go start and try and build something outside of him or go somewhere. It was to come to him. That's what happens when someone calls you. It's to get your attention and for you to draw nearer, right? But that's neither here nor there. To answer your question, I didn't leave the space willingly, firstly, and I did not come to the Lord willingly either. None of it was my choice. None of it. Nobody wants to live obediently by choice. Nobody, unless you've got like some heavy wisdom and revelation on the Lord and his things, it's not something you want to do. No one wants to save themselves from marriage, because if you've tasted that thing, it's nice. You want to continue living as you would please. You want to drink, you want to do the drugs, you want to be seen out everywhere. You want to do all the things that the flesh enjoys. So none of what I'm doing now, I actually wanted to do, right?
Yeah.
So leaving TV was something that was done, or I'm going to say it was catalyzed by a parent of mine, and getting back in was tough because now I had a label of being difficult to work with, because I was just pulled out of a successful show, no explanation, and then I was gone for 12 months, and suddenly I wanted to come back. And remember, I'm a child, so it's not me, the person. They are dealing with the adults in my life, and that's where everything just went pear-shaped. And it ended up costing the production house a lot of money to shoot with me, because I had even left the province. They had to keep flying me in for shoots. So it just got really difficult. And we need to understand that the show then and the show now are not the same thing. There weren't any sponsors in my day. It was all just like a guinea pig. I was a guinea pig. It was an experiment. They wanted to see if this thing could work on local TV, a national broadcaster. It wasn't a paid channel, remember. All you did was, supposedly needed to pay for your license. But outside of that, finding the Lord happened, I'd say, where I'm conscious of it was going to church with a younger brother. My brother is 10 years younger than me. And I would see him having these experiences at church. And you'd see him, like, he'd be swaying, and you'd kind of see that he's having this thing that happens every Sunday. He's got this experience. There's an encounter that he's having that I have no idea is what. And because he's so young, he can't articulate it to me either. But it's happening. And then I started getting jealous, and I was like, what? How come I'm not experiencing this thing? What is it? So even us visiting different ministries, that's how I would gauge that this is the right ministry to be in. Is if my brother did not have an experience, I'd be like, oh, that thing is clearly not here. So we'd never come back. And the ministries where he'd have his moments and have his encounters, I'd be like, oh, okay, that thing, it's here also. But I also wanted that thing, So remember that I've got a chip on my shoulder. I've been taken off of a platform at my peak, I would have been doing really great. So there's also those things in the back of my mind. You are dealing with people that don't know why you left, and they are making up their own stories about why you're no longer accessible to them, There's a pain that I'm dealing with the parent that messed it up for me. There's a pain I'm dealing with myself, because I suddenly don't have an identity. So from the age of 9 to like the age of 13, I was the girl on TV on various things. All of a sudden, that's gone. You get into high school, you know how kids are. It was a lot to deal with as a person. So finding Christ where it actually happened. It happened after I had survived sexual assaults. And I literally found myself at a church. And I say found myself because I was invited there. But yeah, I find myself at this ministry. I'm going to the altar call. I'm apologizing to Jesus because at least I know that suicide is wrong. So I'm going to the altar call, not because I want to receive him as my Lord and Savior, but because I'm apologizing because I had this meticulous plan to take my life after church. That is how I had my actual physical, very tangible encounter with the Lord.
That's a great testimony to have. I'm taken aback. Wow. Now I'm losing my way. Okay, kind of get back into it. I mean, that is a great testament of your life and Christ receiving you back into his kingdom. And and for you to share something like that, I know not everyone wants to share such things that they go through, and it's very tough to share, like looking back onto those things that, oh, this happened to me, certain things happened to me, and I was ready to end it, and now look, I'm in this moment, and God is speaking to me. So thank you for sharing that. Now it feels so generous to go into your ministry. So then how do you...
It's okay. It's okay.
How do you...
Let's have an honest conversation. That's all I would want.
All right. So then how do you go from there to now starting Relentless Ministries as a platform?
So, sure. That same place I was at, that ministry where I had such a huge, life-changing experience with the Lord, one-on-one, I kept going back because I was like, what just happened? I had been serving at church, Thando, okay? I had been part of so many ministries. Okay, let me not say so many, but I had stayed within ministries for years at a time, serving faithfully, but never having an actual encounter with the Lord, right? So I realized from that one day that this God has been intentional with my journey. It was disastrous to me, but what I found out that day showed that he's been there when I've prayed. He's been there when I've asked questions. He has been there because the insights that I got that day made me realize, okay, this God has been fighting for me. If indeed he wasn't there, I wouldn't be alive. Because I got to that stage of wanting to unalive myself because there had been so many tragedies that kind of flowed from one into the other. And to be fair, knowing what I know now, a lot of them were my fault. It was bad decisions that I made, which I blamed on God. I consciously made them. I knew I was making a bad decision. But when the consequences came to visit, I forgot. And I was like, God doesn't love me. God's not here. And it's me. Do you know what I mean? So things like that, we have no idea of the systems that we build around ourselves, the cycles we create on our own or of our own accord, simply because of the decisions and the lifestyles that we live. We have no idea. Every time your legs, you have no idea what it is that you're creating, the transaction. So all of those things I did not know, and instead I blamed God. The ministry I got an inkling of in 2016. I never in my ever thought I would be ministering the gospel of Jesus Christ. Yeah, maybe get back onto TV, maybe present again, maybe try out acting, but preaching, that's for other people, No, it's for people that have degrees. It's for people that dress a certain way, come from certain homes. That was my understanding. So the ministry employs me. Where I had my encounter, it employs me. And while I'm working with them, they are opening a new branch. So I was doing something with them from like ground up. It was a very different experience from the branch where I met them. And as I'm working here, a lot of the time I'm by myself and I'm starting to connect with the Lord one-on-one. And as I'm working, I'm like, this is a random place to be. I come from market research. At that point in time, I was working for a market research agency. And I'm just like, how did I find myself back here doing like admin and, PA duties and everything else? I'm event coordinating for this church. I'm doing everything, literally. I live on the church premises. I was like, this is so weird. And God was very clear on you are in training so that when it's your turn, you know what to do. So I was like, maybe I'm going to marry a pastor. Maybe that's what's going to happen one day. Maybe this is Mam Fundisi training.
Yes.
It was a very short period that I spent in the ministry's employ, but I served for almost 7 years in the ministry itself. And I fulfilled almost all the roles that the ministry has, except for the pastoral roles, right? That part I kind of filled in children's ministry that I did for 12 years across 2 ministries. That's where I would flex and exercise my preaching muscle, was with the kids. So that whole thing happens. Fine, life goes on. I get married. Then there comes a time, Thando, where I can't think without thinking of a pulpit. I couldn't breathe. All I kept thinking was like, I want a pulpit. But also, which is weird, because why is it not chocolate? I understand wanting chocolate. I understand craving a Stony. I love Stony, by the way. Oh my gosh. There are things I understand. This was a different craving. Like, it was a craving. I'd dream about it. I'd be like, I want a pulpit. Why? And at that point in time, it was just post-COVID. My business had fallen flat on its face. We were living like in a back room, and I was like, where am I even going to put this thing? But I started looking for one anyway. Cool, whatever. Eventually, the need got a lot. Like, it got hectic. I needed to preach. So what I did is I would go on lives on IG and I would minister. Same time every day, 7 p.m. and then midnight for prayers. And I just kept doing this. And I just kept doing it over and over and over again. Eventually, it moved to Zoom. From Zoom, it went to WhatsApp. And then one day we were meeting physically at a park. And then from the park, we went into a primary school in Blegauri. And that's literally what happened. And I panicked because peer pressure found me, because there was no name to this thing. God didn't give me a name. And for some weird reason, I needed an identity. So then I called it Iron Sharpens Iron Ministries. And that's what it was from 2021 to 2023. Relentless Global, the company itself, was only registered in 2023. Also the same time that everything was happening. Fell pregnant, gave birth last year. Pregnancy was an absolute disaster. So everything shut down. Everything shut down. By 2023 November, the ministry was officially closing. The instruction from the Lord was to do it in June, and I didn't obey. I was very disobedient. Kanti June's the same time I found out that I was pregnant. I got sick, and then big spiraling moment. But yeah, Relentless Ministries then kind of stabilized after I had healed from giving birth. And I was like, okay, I need to regroup because I'm feeling that thing again. Because you feel this thing, you're like, I need to release. You get spiritually obese and you need to release. And unfortunately, people feel like they need to be standing behind a traditional pulpit to release that stuff. No, you don't. It's as simple as creating a post. It's as simple as sharing with someone like, hey, Thando, oh my gosh, I just read this amazing scripture. Let me share the revelations I got. And Thando's like, oh my gosh, I read the same scripture. Let me share what I got out of it. And there we start a fruitful conversation, So that's how Relentless Ministries was born, but it sits under Relentless Global, which is an umbrella of very, very many businesses.
That's That's amazing and very wow. Your journey is very interesting, and I feel like
I
this is
keep
a
hearing
very
so.
short time for us to discuss everything. You did touch on Relentless Global, and you do a lot within Relentless. What are some of the things that you do within business?
So, recently opened a publishing arm, and I opened this publishing arm because I'm busy writing books. I have got 7 that need to be published. So we're at the point where they need to now be printed, right? And I thought to myself, do I really want to go to an established publishing house that's going to take a chunk of the money? Yes, they'll help me get into the market. Yes, they'll do the things that everyone expects. But it's going to take away from me knowing what it is that they do and how they do it. And that way be able to help other people, because the whole purpose of Relentless is to showcase the love of Christ in all these different facets, right? And if I cannot empower people through Relentless in this manner, and this is me giving away my intellectual property, it defeats the purpose of what I'm building. So I was like, okay, let me learn. What do publishers do? And then let me practice on myself with my own books, so that by the time Thando writes hers and she's like, hey, I've seen what you've done, I'd love some help, I can do something without in plain language screwing her over. Because at the end of the day, you can take and have all the money in the world. If you have not made a tangible impact, I feel like you failed in life. And I want to make an impact. I want to change lives. So there's the publishing house. There's Relentless Baby, which I think is our busiest arm right now. Relentless Baby starts it off as rompers and little hats and little shorts and booties for babies. Just branded stuff, very simple. I am not a fan of babies that are overly dressed, because I'm like, how is the baby going to be free and comfortable and start learning to crawl and walk if they're dressed like, your boss or even you?
Yeah.
That's my personal preference. No judgment on a parent that's
No
that way
judgment,
inclined.
but it's a bit weird. Why is the child dressed in boots and Timberlands and sneakers? And
Yeah, I just, for me, it's like, how does the baby learn to walk in shoes that aren't soft?
yeah,
Because they're trying to find their balance. So the clothing was basically for that, for the parent that wants to allow their child to just be a child, not an influencer, not just a child, right? So that evolved, Thando, quite abruptly this year, actually, probably 4 months ago. It evolved. It started becoming educational aids as well. So there are now children's books. In fact, the nice thing is, I was talking about it in an interview last night. The children's books are personalizable. So you can come and say, hey, I love the books. Can I please instead take the main character and put my child as the main character? Cool, I can easily do that because I'm illustrating the books myself. So there's no third party involved, So those are things that I've worked on. And then this is like my absolute favorite one. So these are educational bilingual flashcards.
oh, that's so.
They are called Beautiful Beginnings. This is something, I love God because He really is just creative. So this one, for example, is in English. It says Apple. It says English on top. And then on the flip side, it says Xhosa. Same card, Apile. And I have these in all the 11 official South African languages. Same with the books. Why? Because outside of us sitting and building our identities in Christ, we need to fully understand and grasp our identities as South Africans. And I feel like it's so easy to lose that because we consume so much Western culture and we have become that, right? So a lot of what I'm building within Relentless is to empower the local child, black and white, colored, green, purple, blue. I want them to remember who they are and why they are that person. And stop hating on that, Love it and flourish because you're that person. So Relentless Baby is doing amazing things. I don't even want to lie. I'm working on a kiddies show that's going to be linked to the next thing I'm going to talk about. There is Relentless Radio, which is an online radio platform that should be live within the next 2 months. There is Relentless Read, which is an online magazine. I'm also working within the same timeline so that they both launch at the same time. So we're just busy compiling content, we're recording, so that when we go live excellently. What have I forgotten?
Relentless Clothing.
There's Relentless Talent. That's where that hasn't officially been launched, but it is a standing brand. So what I'm going to do there is help people just with the basic HR components that they might be missing. So helping people with their CVs. And I'm not going to charge for such things because I think that's ridiculous. You know, someone is hungry, they're trying to find a job, they're being charged money to fix the tool that they need to get the job. I feel like, those things are not fair. They really aren't. As well as wanting to take my history as a talent manager, because I did that for quite a few years after TV myself. And what I did learn at the time I was on TV and everything I've learned working with different brands and advertising and marketing, because that's been the past 20 years of my life. And I want to hone talent. I really want a space where I can hold workshops, get in touch with the partners and friends I do have in the industry that are currently in the industry to come and help the people workshop. How do you present? How do you speak? How do you read? How do you audition? Those type of things, Basically, I want to build people up for success, whether it's in an employment type of situation or it is in media. I want to build them up for success, which is why I'm going to open up opportunities, even in the radio station, for them to come through and hone the skill. I don't see why people must pay to get into places, pay to get their music into places. It's crazy. It really is just crazy. So I'm building up spaces where people that are genuinely talented, I don't care about your schooling, because you can teach someone with the right attitude anything. But I care that there are spaces, safe spaces for creatives to grow and to blossom. Leading to the next thing, there's Relentless Marketing Hub, which deals with all things marketing. I do a lot of the market research, strategy, branding type of things. And then I have collaborators. So that I'm also still building. It's a space for creative people, and a lot of what I do is I source for business. So I play a business development role, and then we share the profits of the business that I bring in. If it's going to sit with me, the person just wants a strategy, then cool, great. But they might need some design work. They might need some web development work. They might need other things that I don't do. And then we will collaborate on projects like that. And then there's Relentless Wear that you were talking about. That is a mixture of couture. I've got some of the stuff behind me, streetwear. Now we're branching into cultural wear as well. And then there's Relentless Home, which is a lot of bespoke statement pieces for your home. So like vases, linen. I'm working with someone now. We are working on some nice headboards and side tables. Then there's in fact, I'll give you the exclusive. I am launching in the next, let's say 2 months. I think a lot is going to happen in 2 months. I'm going to launch Christmas crosses. You are the first person to hear this. Christmas.
Exclusive to me, to us. Christmas crosses.
It's called an exclusive. So Christmas crosses. Why? Mm-hmm. As you delve deeper into your Christian journey. And it depends. Some people just live on the surface, and that's fine. But some people want to know more, and they delve deep, and they realize that there are a lot of things that we're celebrating as the Christian family and the Christian body that really aren't Christian. They come across as Christian, but they really are not. So, for example, there was a whole movement not so long ago that was like, hey, Christmas is a pagan holiday. This tree has nothing to do with Jesus, etc. and so forth. Then, of course, there's the whole Santa Claus. And if you look at how they package him and how they sell him, a lot of his traits are actually Jesus's traits, right? He knows what you're doing. He knows when you're good or bad. Do you know what I mean? So I decided, I was like, okay, what can I create for the body of Christ that they can still celebrate the season, but give reverence to who the season is about. So I came up with the Christmas cross. So they range from 2 meters down for now. I don't know if they will be larger than 2 meters. I guess those will be specialized or customized orders, and they will be available, and you can decorate them as you would a tree, but you can also just disassemble it and put it away. You can use it during Passover or Easter's, if you want to call it that. I feel like it's a versatile thing, and they are pretty. They are actually aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So with your lights and whatnot, so they come in wood, they come in perspex as well, and you can just zhuzh up your house and still give reverence to the season without selling out. It's as simple as that, really.
Oh, that is so amazing. And you do so much, and that's a lot. Relentless is, I pray that everything God has put into you and what you are trying to do with everyone around and with Relentless continues to grow and to bring the impact that you want. And thank you so much for sharing. In closing, what would you like to leave our listeners or people who are going to watch this with?
Sure. That one's always a tough one because there's so much. There's so much I want to share. So, beginning of the month, I started a movement called Dear Black Girl. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing a Dear Black Boy next month. And the month after that, I'm doing a Dear Child of Color. I think it's so important that we heal. And that's why I'm having these different platforms and different sessions. Because I feel like the child in us needs to be acknowledged. The child in us needs to be healed. And I'm speaking from personal experience. But I'm over 40 now. I have learned that this is such a common thing, not just in the Black culture, but just generally. We are hurt. We're just kind of in autopilot. We're just trying to survive. No one is really dealing with the root of the issue. Mm-hmm. So the best thing I can do and say right now with the short period I have before you need to close off is love yourself enough to invest in yourself. Mm. Take time out to get to know yourself. Spend time with yourself. If you still want to go to school, go for it. If you want to improve how you look, start, and find your people. It's so healing to find your people. Find your people. There are so many people that are not going to get you. They won't appreciate you. And that's okay. It really is fine. It's okay to not be for everyone. But for me, it's like invest in yourself. And it looks like so many different things. But zithande, that's literally the best I can say right now is zithande. Zithanda zele, zithande, zikhise kakuhle, uzinxibise kakuhle, iba mhle man, Really, that's it in a nutshell for now.
I think we should have you back. There's so much more that we'd like to hear from you about. And thank you for your time and thank you for sharing In Her Words and on my platform.
It was an absolute pleasure. I don't usually accept such invites because I feel like they're always so one-sided, or the other guests, I'm just like, I don't really want to be associated with that. So you are the first one I've actually accepted. I love what you're building. And that for me was like, I want to be part of it because I see the vision behind it. And I look forward to when you have a studio and you have all these other pretty things and, you're able to do a talk show on TV even. I really think you have the potential.
Thank you. I really appreciate that coming from you as someone who's worked in the entertainment industry and who worked in talent as well. So thank you so much, Entle.
Thank you.